All right, everyone, we are live on the live stream, our Saturday morning live stream. And let me just wait for everyone to get dialed in. Right now, we have an awesome guest that we're going to be featuring today. So I hope everyone has their questions. I see CJ. CJ's in there. Welcome, CJ. Anthony, welcome. Reg, John C. Luke's talking about the book. Good. Tight preparedness. Good to see you. All right. Looks like everything's working pretty good. So I just want to get right into it. We're going to go for about an hour, I think. Maybe we might go a little longer if we're having a lot of fun. But you all know this guest. This is Fernando. I'm really a little nervous on this one. I'm a big fan of Fernando. So I'm going to just read his bio really quick, and then we'll bring him on right now. So Fernando FerFAL Aguirre is a father, husband, survivalist that has lived through the Argentinian socio-economic collapse of 2001 and the consequences such collapse had in the years follow. He's the author of numerous articles found online and is recognized among the survival and preparedness community for his personal experience and no-nonsense approach to survivalism. He's also a publisher and owner of Surviving in Argentina, a blog that he keeps up with up-to-date articles, posts, as well as reports on the situation in Argentina. So I have links in the description box for this particular live stream. You should definitely get his book. So this book over here, the first one is the one that how I first got into FerFAL. So the Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse. It's a classic in the preparedness community. It's what helped me get me into preparedness because it freaked me out when I read it. So I read it probably in 2010. It scared the crap out of me, and then I started getting into preparedness and starting from scratch. So the cool thing about FerFAL or Fernando is that a lot of us preppers, we come from it from maybe more of an academic approach or scientific where we're reading stuff. Fernando's lived through all this stuff as far as urban survival. So we're going to really be diving into this for this live stream. His other book over here, Bugging Out and Relocating When Staying Put is not an option. That's kind of the follow-up to the first one. And then there's the newest book is the Street Survival Skills. Oh, let's see, you're not seeing what I'm looking at. Let me do that again. Okay. So we have the modern survivor manual over here, Surviving the Economic Collapse. We have Bugging Out and Relocating, and then we have the Street Survival Skills. It's also available in Spanish as well. And then we have his YouTube channel over here and the blog. So without further ado, let's bring on Fernando FerFAL Aguirre to the live stream. Welcome, Fernando.
Hey, Cliff. It's great to be talking with you, man.
Awesome. Well, again, I'm super excited about this. If you would have told me 10 years ago that, because I read the first book, again, like I mentioned, it scared the crap out of me, and then it started getting me into preparedness. And I think maybe I've helped other people get into preparedness, but a lot of it comes from the information that you provided there, and like the encouragement and the no nonsense tips on survival because you've actually lived through it. So again, thanks so much.
Hey man, I'm glad it helped you out, and yeah, it's great to be talking with you, and I love your YouTube channel as well. It's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. So, and I think I put your YouTube channel up here. Again, all this stuff is in, as we're talking, guys, make sure that you follow the Modern Survivalist on his YouTube channel. A lot of information over here. A lot of it kind of applies to the stuff that I do, a lot of gas mask stuff recently. And he even had one on the stuff going on in Seattle, which was in my neck of the woods. We were talking about that earlier. Maybe we could talk about that more during this. And make sure you just go ahead and buy all of his books. So I'm just going to say that right now. As you can see on my history, I was hoping to have it for this live stream. You see, when I purchased it, so they should be arriving. I have some of these in PDF or on my Kindle actually, and then I've lost the other one. So, but they're reordered and they should be here tomorrow, I think. So, awesome. So maybe I thought for the people that everyone should be familiar with you, Fernando, but if they're not, maybe we could talk a little bit about your background and then just start diving into some of the. I have a lot of questions, and I think people in the chat room. Put your questions away. I'll bring them in for Fernando, and we'll start answering them. Again, we're trying to focus on urban survival and civil unrest and urban preparedness and things like that. But can you give people that are unfamiliar with you your background?
Sure. Well, I was born in Argentina, lived most of my life in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. I did live in the United States and later on in other parts, but most of my life has been spent in South America, where in 2001, that was the more noticeable event. The economy crashed completely. We ended up defaulting on the national debt. The president resigned. Kind of imagine the situation right now, and Trump just says, okay, I'm out of here. He just leaves in a chopper. And we went through 5 different presidents in a week. No one would want to take care of the mess. So it was pretty chaotic for a long time. After that, things started to settle, but the mess lasted for several months, and even the consequences were felt years later. A complete crash of the economy, banks closing people's accounts and not giving back their money, inflation going through the roof, unemployment was over 25%, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, what's really scary, and I think someone already mentioned in the comment, is a lot of the stuff that especially that you wrote in the first book back in 2009. I never thought the stuff would be happening right now in the U.S. And now it's, I think it's surreal to actually be applying what he wrote on that. Yes, so a lot of the stuff that you wrote about over a decade ago is now we're starting to actually applying these kind of things. And I wish we weren't. It's definitely a kind of scary times going on.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the similarities. I mean, this was back in 2001, and we were talking about this the other day. It's almost like 20 years. But the more because I didn't stop after 2001. Of course, I kept writing, kept researching, had different life experiences, living in different parts of the world as well, which gives you a nice perspective. And talking with people that have gone through tough times, stuff like people in South Africa, people in Eastern Ukraine as the Russians started rolling in. It's amazing how, I mean, in spite of all our differences, of course, there's many similarities as well in terms of what a checkpoint is, what a nervous soldier or a nervous rioter or someone that is improvising a checkpoint, like you have maybe an Antifa guy or a piquetero or someone like that that's not officially trained and he's handling a gun. It's very interesting to see all the similarities.
Yeah. Are there any other patterns that you've noticed from the stuff that's going on now to what you've seen back in 2001 and I think, because the Argentinian, that economic collapse was like 98 to 02 around there. Is there any kind of things that you're seeing that are similar? I know that you're not in the US right now, but any similar patterns?
Well, without getting too specific in terms of the political games, a lot of this has to do with, the political games that many times the people above are playing and speculating on, okay, we'll let this go down and see if this benefits us. We'll align with this philosophy that seems to be getting a lot of weight. They have political analysis. They have advisors. These guys have advisors that tell them, yes, let this burn, or no, be hard on this, or no, do this other thing. And all of these things have very grave consequences for us, for the normal guy on the street. And for example, for me, it was one of the more disrupting things was, well, like you're seeing now in Seattle, this idea of roadblocks, so of people checkpoints, so people all of a sudden closing a road because they feel like doing it. Whatever reason they have for it, your life is disrupted because of that. In Buenos Aires, it was widespread for years. I woke up every morning, and before heading out, I would just check on the news to see where I had to avoid before going through my route.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have a video on it right now on your YouTube channel for the Chaz zone over there in Seattle. It's embarrassing because I'm trying to represent Seattle for the preparedness community, and then we have that going on with a pretty pathetic garden from what I've seen. They didn't watch my gardening live stream a couple weeks back.
No, they probably didn't. No.
Yeah. So did you see similar things happening in Argentina or Buenos Aires with regard to these kind of, I don't know, mini zones is starting to open up in different areas of it, or is this something new?
No, that's very typical. I lived in, for example, Northern Ireland, right? And there's a very big divide still in terms of Catholics and Protestants. And you have walls dividing maybe a couple blocks that's Catholic, and they have a wall closing it over, and they mark the territory with flags. So when you're entering the Catholic area, where you're entering the Protestant area. And of course, now, I mean, the troubles, as it was called during those periods of more serious civil unrest are past, but these things still remain, very interestingly so. So you go and you have to either be there or be a local or spend a good amount of time so as to notice all those little signals, the colors used, the flags, the little symbols that each faction uses. In Argentina, it's more of a social, it never got anything like that, of course, but there's places that you just don't go because they are like barrios that are very rough, very tough, and the drug dealers are in charge, or the political piqueteros, which are the political point men leaders for certain areas, take control of those shanty towns, those more underprivileged parts of the city. And you have to know all of these things, because if not, you get in trouble. This is a little bit like what's, but this is kind of like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's kind of mocked a little bit in the news, and our governors. I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard of anything like that. So there's it feels like a lot of political games. But and right now the people that are doing this, it almost feels like a LARP or something. But I'm worried about like it getting to more extreme, like the stuff that you've actually written about and seen. So that's for me. That I'm not as worried on this kind of stuff, but the next step of it.
No. You know what, Cliff? The serious thing, is that at the end of the day, they took over a police station and they decide who's allowed in a street or not, and it shouldn't be like that, because that should be in charge of the police. Should be in charge of that. The city, the elected officials should be in charge of that. The minute you allow and you say, okay, you take control of this. And no one did you vote for any of those guys with a gun checking out who's going in or not? That is super dangerous. The moment you start normalizing that, you normalize that, and man, you don't want to normalize that. Let's just say leave it there.
Yeah, and I've been hearing that at the other places around the country are starting to pop up these little zones and stuff too. It's definitely concerning. So again, you're over in Europe right now, and you're hearing about stuff going on in Seattle, and it's not the stuff that we want you to know about most. So I thought we could take a couple little comments over here really quick from some people, and then we could keep going, because I'd like to talk more with you about the checkpoints and stuff, because I know that you've seen this in action a lot longer, and so we could talk about that more. But here's let's see, we have, this is from Boston for Philip, the people protecting their dead heroes. Who would have thought? That's not really okay. Then we have, what happened to the cash? So I guess in Buenos Aires and Argentina, what happened to cash during the crash?
Well, it's you had several things going on. First, you had the currency devaluating very sharply. Like it lost like 60-something% of its value in just a few days. Now, you'd think that cash is worthless, yet at the same time, because of the banks being closed, and you were only allowed like 300 pesos, which is like $100 of cash a week. And with that, you had to get through your day, through your week with $100. And at the same time, many stores were not accepting a credit card. So you needed the cash, and it was not available. So even though it was losing a lot of its value, it was in very high demand. So the thing about cash being king, that's something I write about in my books. You have to work in layers, and there's a time for precious metals, there's a time for cash, there's a time for things that may have value on its own. Like I'm not so big in barter, because I saw barter not do so great in terms of there's really nothing that I can feel I can store a pile of, and this is going to be worth its weight in gold when something bad happens. Even toilet paper, with what happened, we have a lesson right now. Yeah. Even with toilet paper, if I had 3 years worth of toilet paper, do I really have that amount of toilet paper worth its weight in gold? Or did that just, today you're not going to be selling toilet paper to a lot of people, Yeah. It's stuff that it's easily, one of the lines of thought I usually use is, if people in some of the more impoverished nations in the planet manage to get it, then it's likely to be easy enough to replicate. Toilet paper may be unavailable for some time. Eventually, someone's going to be figuring out how to make toilet paper and have it somewhere else. So I'm more of a cash, actually savings, and then diversifying your banking. If you can have it internationally, that's even better. Those are all very valuable tools.
Yeah, I saw that you recently did a video on silver, gold, and Bitcoin on your channel, which I watched over there as well. Yeah, I guess, and we were talking a little bit before that as far as stuff that you can't really replicate easily. And I know with toilet paper, I guess you could not use it, or use your hand, or use the three seashells from Demolition Man. Or
Fantastic.
But there's some other things that are harder to replicate.
No, it's valuable because you have to use it yourself. So having a reasonable stockpile for a long period of time, that's definitely smart. And maybe you can even use that, for bartering or something. It's not something I would make a huge bet or investment on. I'd rather have rather have precious metals, rather have a little bit of Bitcoin even, which is something quite interesting to have. Even firearms are pretty valuable and in high demand and rarely lose a lot of its value.
Yeah. So I see the biologist has a couple questions here. What would you do to survive in the Capitol Hill in Chaz, in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle? And I think he has a follow-up in here, like, but seriously, what would your strategy be if it happens you were living where in a anarchist community was declared and you're stuck? What would your recommendations be for something like that based off your experience?
Well, this is the kind of thing where you have to be into preparedness. You have to have been involved in this thing for a while, because this is one of those hard tests. It's one thing to start a fire, but this is a little bit more demanding. You have to remain low key. The gray man thing here is crucial. You don't want to attract attention. You don't want to get attacked by a mob. That's definitely something you would want to avoid. So, and this is very hard because a lot of people are very upset and feel like they have to express their anger, which is rightful, which is true. But this is not the time for you to confront an angry mob, because you are going to be losing. There's people that got seriously injured these last few days because of that. So a priority for me would be trying to stay low key, gray man approach to things, get lost in the crowd and try to go along through in my life, staying informed of the points that are more conflicting, staying involved in terms of knowing the spots where there's going to be protests, demonstrations, that sort of thing. Avoid those as much as possible. And then this is also important. Have a plan B of terms of, okay, if this continues, do I want to stay in Chaz if this is going to be lasting all summer, all year, or God knows how long? Do I want to stay in Chaz? It's kind of a joke, but it's really not so funny, because it's something that that is not really what people used to living in America should have to put up with. So maybe having a relative, a friend somewhere where you could stay for some time until see what happens. Maybe that's a strategy I would consider if I was stuck in the middle of that right now. I have a friend, I have some family member, someone that I can stay. And this goes back to the concept of bugging out. I'm going to be bugging out to the forest. Well, no, maybe you're bugging out to your grandma's house.
Yeah,
totally. And you're staying there for a few weeks, see how things go, and you avoid some of the periods.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so if you saw this happening in the early phases, you would bug out there, or you would defend it, or what do you think? I guess going back to the original one.
If I like in that part of town where you're likely in an apartment of some kind, and I just get my stuff and try to get out of there and see how it goes. I don't think it's nothing is worth losing your life. It's all, one of the things I've learned over the years is just stuff is easily replaced. I have a house full of stuff that is you just buy it again. And that sounds a little bit like privileged. That's a word that's being used a lot lately, but it really is, in terms of money comes and goes. If there's something that's abundant in the world, is money. Some people struggle with a little bit more, but eventually a lot of this stuff, my point is, nothing is worth getting hurt or getting one of your loved ones hurt. That is never worth, no matter what type of stuff that you have. So that wouldn't be a priority for me.
Yeah, it can't really be replicated, like going back to there. And even a lot of the cool gear and stuff that we have here, at some point it's going to make its way to the dump. So once it's whole, it's going to go on the garbage.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, you can just get more of it, or you can even get better of it. I have better stuff these days than I had in any other time. Sure, there's little things that have sentimental value and such, and maybe those are the things you actually take with you, family photos or stuff that is very important to you. But then the rest, man, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? We brought someone over here. Christine had, is gold a bartering item where you are? I know that you talked a little bit about it in your video, but.
Well, gold is interesting because it always, historically, for thousands of years, it has kept its value. And is gold accepted? Gold is accepted anywhere that I know of. Any city that I've been, if you go to the downtown district, they have a "I buy gold" sign of some kind. So your gold, someone is going to be giving you a pile of cash for it. It's usually going to be taking quite a bit of a hit, because if you go with a ounce of gold, they're not going to be paying you, they're going to be taking 20, 30%. For example, in Venezuela, this is confirmed from a prepper in Venezuela that I talked with recently, they give you half of spot. So they give you half of what your ounce of gold is worth. But at the same time, that's a fortune for people over there. That is more money than they'll see in 5 years. Keep in mind that the average income in Venezuela is like $3-4. $500 is a fortune. So that is something that someone in Venezuela can sell and get enough money to get out of the country. This goes back to World War II, where many people caught in Nazi Germany, that some of those folks that made it to the United States, they had some gold, they used that to get out of there. It's been used throughout history, and I think it still has a place.
So we have a prepper agenda over here. Welcome, prepper agenda. So, hey, Fernando, what is the real solution? Meaning, no matter what happens, your life doesn't change. Any thoughts on a sustainable community eco-village?
Man, the real solution, no matter what happens, your life doesn't. What the key to survival change. Is the ability to adapt. At least for me, it's key to do that. If you cannot, if you're going to be stuck and say, okay, I'm going to be staying with this format that I have, and I'm not going to be changing any of it, that goes against everything I know in terms of preparedness. You have to be very flexible. You have to adapt. So in terms of having a community, the idea of having a community, a small town where you know everyone, or a homestead, and having maybe I know guys that have maybe a piece of land. They have 2 or 3 families living together. That is definitely fantastic. That is awesome. Is that the end-all solution to everything? No, because some cases, some situations demand that you just, what was it in Heat, that if you see if you see the cops around the corner, you can leave everything behind in 5 minutes or something like that. They had like Robert De Niro had a quote along those lines. Maybe not so much, but you have to be willing to change and adapt. And maybe have a homestead in Oregon and you have a fire heading your way and you have to leave. No matter how fantastic that place is, you really have to leave it because you don't have much of a choice. For the guy in eastern Ukraine invaded by the Russians, he didn't have much of a choice. I know of a case in which he had a very nice isolated homestead at the top of a hill with a great antenna. The Russians knocked on the door and said, we need your house, we need your antenna. You can either stay here with us or you can leave. He of course left.
Yeah. Cool. So awesome. Let's see. Hector over here says the best way, stay away from social activity and focus on yourself. I'm definitely staying away from Chaz myself. So let's see. Miss Bailey is asking us to show the book again. Yes, I will show the book again because everyone that's watching this, you need to buy Fernando's books. They're awesome. This again, the Modern Survival Manual is like, it's a must-have for people that are into preparedness. It's what's kick-started a lot of the preparedness stuff that's happened in the last decade, in my opinion. So again, huge inspiration. And then bugging out, and then the street survival skills. Just go ahead and buy all of them. We're supporting this is our colleague and kind of one of the few people that has experience in this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for that. I'm glad that you think so highly of my work, man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, a little stumbling on my words on this one because I never thought I'd be talking to FerFAL Live. So this is cool. Again, I know there's some connectivity stuff that is going on, so bear with us. We're talking from the U.S. to Europe, so sometimes we have a little bit of a lag going on. Let's see. There's a lot of hellos and everything like that. So I was hoping to talk a little bit more about the checkpoints. That's something that we talked a little bit about yesterday. So what's some of the stuff that we should probably look out on our end, because we're seeing a lot of the stuff going on right now with little zones and stuff happening. I'm sure this is something that you saw happening in Argentina. Sure. Probably got more and more. Any kind of overall tips for us? Yeah, well, first of all, you have to, as I was saying before, the idea is as long as you can avoid it, that's perfect. Now, the truth is that many times you cannot. If there are a bunch of guys blocking the road and you just have to go through your day, there's a few things to keep in mind. Try to be as low key as possible. The Grayman thing applies also to your vehicle. Don't have anything too flashy. The way you dress, your attitude, your body language, try to look relaxed.
and try not to confront. A lot of people are very angry, rightfully so, in my opinion. But if you see these guys and they just stop you and you, what do you think you are? This is America. Get the hell out of it. And you start confronting with these people, it's for you.
Yeah.
The guy has his life is probably miserable enough. That's maybe why he believes lots of the things he believes. Go through your life, go through your day. Don't bother with it. A lot of people also get scared and nervous when you see someone like that with a gun, and it's not like when you see someone that it's exercising Second Amendment rights, that's law abiding, and those people, it's the kind of guys I see in my shooting club. I'm not nervous when I go to a class or a competition. It's different when it's more like that. But you have to remain calm and chill. Take it easy. Go through it. And that's it. I've seen videos of people that just lose it and just hit the gas and just ram through the crowd. I've been in positions where I had angry people around me. The thing is this, you don't have to hit the gas. You just have to keep on moving slowly. I mean, if you have no other choice and you're surrounded by people like this and they are starting to behave more aggressively, you just keep on moving slowly. Don't make any eye contact. Just get out of the area slowly. Any car is going to be more than strong enough to get through anyone pushing you. And another aspect is, this is very complex, but all of this is getting filmed, all of it. So if something like this happens to you and you have to answer for your actions, it's not the same thing to see someone that was really trying to keep it calm and just get the hell out of a very dangerous place than someone that just panicked and boom, rushed through. It's very subtle, but the difference is quite important, both on the results you're going to be having, because having done this myself, when you keep on moving with your vehicle slowly, people just move out of the way because the car just plows and moves it. But if you accelerate too much, people get caught under it. Slowly, it plows, you get out of there, and anyone seeing that sees that you're trying to do your best to preserve your life and not hurt anyone else. These are the kind of things that are important in times like these.
Yeah, awesome. I remember when my wife and we got married in Mexico back in 2009, and at that point, I never had gone through a checkpoint at that point, but while we were there, we went through some part. We were in a rural part of town, the country, and went through a checkpoint with the military, and they had rifles and stuff, and it was super, staying calm and being cool and all of that. But it was freaky. I'm hoping that we don't see more of that in the U.S. over here. Let's see. We have some questions here. Let's see. This is from the Apex Prepper. So we have question. I normally don't conceal carry within my home. With threats from Antifa to start hitting the suburbs, when should I start to conceal carry within my home? Probably depends on proximity and speed. You have any thoughts?
Yeah, that's kind of, it's something that you probably want to consider doing, especially if you're closer to some of the more conflicted spots. There's people that are open carrying, and some people have been open carrying all along because they live in a more rural place where it's more socially acceptable, and that's the thing they've been doing. There's been people protecting their property, their businesses that have their guns, and they're organizing. Maybe that's not something you'll end up doing on a long period of time, and you just do that sort of thing during the more tougher spots until things calm down a little bit. But it also depends on where you live and the kind of house setup that you have. Maybe you have a house that it's more open and you're a little bit more vulnerable. If you live in an apartment, I mean, for example, for a time I was living in an apartment in Buenos Aires with a bulletproof door and burglar bars on my windows. No one was going to be getting through it without me knowing it.
Did you add on the bulletproof door?
Yeah, it was expensive. I bought it, I had it, but it gave me a lot of peace of mind. That's one of the things that it's worth the money. It's actually not uncommon to see reinforced plate steel doors in Buenos Aires. It's actually quite common for people that can afford it.
Oh, yeah. I was just looking the other day on. Let's see if I could. I'll search for it while we're talking. But I was looking for some stuff. I have a video coming out right after the stream, similar to this. Let's see. We have the biologist again. Let's see. In some countries, guns aren't accessible to the general population. What do you think of alternatives like enhanced hunting, slingshots, bows, blowguns, air rifles, or realistic replicas? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I have. And it's a good question because I get it as well quite often myself. Look, you have to know your country and your own legislations. Many times it happens that people say, "Oh, it's very hard to get a gun in my country." Being hard doesn't mean it's impossible. There's a huge difference. It's actually it has to be a very restrictive Cuba, China type of place where no gun at all is. I was correspondent live in London. Well, you can have a firearm in London. I've taken classes in UK shooting with semi-automatic shotguns. It's going to be a bit of a longer gun, but you have a 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun with a 7+1 round magazine. It's a decent gun, and you can actually keep it in your home. You're not allowed in certain parts of UK to keep it for self-defense, but you're allowed to have the gun. At the end of the day, something awful happens, you can't defend yourself, and then you'll explain your actions to the people that you should answer to. But my first answer to that is make sure you cannot have it, because if you can, that should be kind of something you want to have. Second, there's also the possibility of having black powder guns, which in many parts of the world are not considered firearms at all. And while guns are banned, black powder guns are allowed. And a black powder gun is definitely a gun. If you know how to use it properly, you have a 5-6 shot revolver. That is definitely better than any slingshot, anything like that. It's not nearly as good, but good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably shy away from having a kind of fake gun or something like that. It seems like
I know fake guns. That's something I get asked. Like, can I have a BB? Man, you're really pushing your luck, because if you are considering having something for self-defense, you are considering the possibility of someone very violent coming at you with a firearm or with a lethal weapon. Your life is in danger.
Yeah. So it looks like someone else in the comments said it might not be the best idea for that. Then I saw you talked about the bulletproof door that you had. I was looking at some products similar to this, like the armor core. It's like a bullet-resistant fiberglass panel that you could get. And they come in different sizes. I thought those were kind of a cool option. So was it like a steel door, or was it some kind of panel along these lines?
Oh, yeah. Let me clarify. When I was talking about black powder guns, not fake guns.
Okay.
Because I see that the fake, the plastic gun, black powder guns are real guns. Armor, well, these were the one I had was made locally. There were several companies, but basically it's like a sandwich. So it has a structure of metal, and it has two panels of steel on both sides. That is as reinforced. The kind of construction also matters in terms of in South America, it's very common to have poured concrete, brick walls, not so much drywall, which is easily broken. So I would have the frame of the door was metal, poured concrete on the sides, and that kind of door is as like a vault. It's impossible to get through.
Yeah, I know a lot of the houses down there in South America. I have some coworkers, and they're from Chilean from Chile, and their home structures were pretty fortified from what he was describing. There's a lot of concrete and steel reinforced frames and all of that kind of stuff. So let's see. We have. I was going to take a couple more questions, and then I have some questions for you. So let's see. What do you think about wearing bartering armor just to keep and have in case? Do you have any thoughts on that? I know a lot of people in Chaz, as far as the patrol. I see them wearing some. What do you think? Just for normal people that are, not civilians of the country, Chaz.
Yeah, I advise people. A lot of these things. We talk about guns. We talk. As money is available, a plate carrier. Like a solid rig with rifle plates, with magazines and such, and also have concealable body armor, because there may be a time in which you don't, going back to this gray man thing, there may be a time in which you want to have some protection at least, and in that case you will wear your concealable body armor, and you go through your day with that. If you have, example, if I'm in Buenos Aires and I have to go to a bank and make a large extraction of cash, a section with a lot of money or something very valuable involved, you would put on I would put on my concealable body armor vest, jacket on top, go back, and that's it. I'm taking just a little bit of precaution, a little bit of extra insurance in case anything bad happens. At the same time, if I'm home, I hear someone kicking down my door, hopefully I will have a door that is not as easy to kick down, and hopefully I will have something to defend myself. This question that was asked before, because I get this a lot. You have a gun, you use your gun, even if it's a double-barrel shotgun, it's better than nothing, and those are available anywhere. The black powder, it is more of a skill to learn to use those properly, but there's several videos of black powder guns kept loaded for years and they still work. 5 years later, if it's properly sealed with grease and all that stuff, again, super last resort. And if not, just pick a knife, have something so as to defend yourself. But the body armor, if you have just a minute or something to put it on, it gives you a very real advantage in that tactical situation.
Yeah, I mean, I normally don't, on my channel, I try to stay away from a lot of the firearms topics because I know that people worldwide, they don't have the same laws that they do in the US, and I want to try to keep, but I know that it does feel like the stuff that's going on now, it's really the people that were anti kind of Second Amendment in the US. Now both sides seem to be pro. It is becoming more
politically, Cliff, it's just my suggestion of there's times in which you don't have much of if someone really is coming after you and trying to hurt your family, you will want to have something, and if nothing else, have pepper spray. I don't know, have something.
Yeah, and I was looking over here. You talked about kicking down your door. I was working on I was right before this live stream. I was working on this video for a review of one of these. You could get a reinforcement for your door frames, so then it's hard. You can't really kick it in anymore. So this is an Armor Concepts ones. I don't know if you've seen these kind of things. But,
yes, because
pretty cool.
Many doors in the United States are very, very flimsy because people don't go around kicking people's doors all that much like in some other parts of the world. But a good piece of advice that's actually quite simple is replacing the screws with 3-inch screws that go straight into the balloon frame structure, the wooden structure. So replacing the screws with those ones, that's a good call. The door itself, hopefully metal, that will give you a lot more rigidity, something more structurally more solid, and then replacing the back plate with something a little bit more rigid, quite a bit. Of course, the best thing is to have a proper reinforced door, but those can be quite pricey.
Yeah, I see someone here from Argentina writing. Let's see, Fernando. How could you quickly train unskilled civilians to form a patrol? Greetings from Argentina.
Man, hey,
did you have to do that?
That is. No. I never. No, I never. Where I live, this is very typical. You would want to pay for someone. You have like a private security outfit of some kind. It can be more basic. It can be a little bit more, but usually neighbors chip in and they have a guard or two in that block or in that street, and they do security. Training people is not easy, especially if you're going to be training them so as to defend a community. That would be my advice here. Would be try to talk with your neighbors before any of this happens. Try being in contact with them. If you can get involved in some sport that you can share with them and have a common activity, because it's really, I would say it's almost impossible to improvise in just a couple of days the kind of security that you need so as to make a block safe. Work on those relationships with your community from before any of this happens.
Cool. Yeah, I've been we try to be friends with all of our neighbors because you never know. I've seen some really cool comments over here. Let's see, there a lot of people are still talking about the fake gun stuff. There's another good one from Prepper Agenda. Let's see. What do you think is the safest country to live in when the SHTF? Blah, blah, blah. I was looking at Uruguay because you're one of the few you had to bug out of your country, and I think you went to Ireland at that point, and you've been to different places in the world. Do you have any thoughts overall on this, on a safe place?
Safe place. Well, there's the country I would love to be in. If I could magically, Switzerland would be my place in the world. I love the culture, the way they have of managing things. It's a pretty stable, and they have a history of being preppers. It's a country of preppers, basically.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I have to research that more. I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Switzerland, they for example, you have to have a bunker,
Wow.
and yes, if you don't have it, if you are like a certain distance from the town bunker, and you have a more isolated house out in the sticks, you have to have a bunker, and you're going to be getting some money so as to fund it, because it is kind of goes towards national security. They plan, for example, the water grid. They plan it so as to be gravity fed whenever possible, so as to, in case of the grid going down, it will still work. And they have fountains that will work in terms of if the grid goes down, people from that little town have access to that the local community fountain. I mean, they have like 3,000 bridges preset with explosives to blow them up in case of an invasion.
Wow, man, I gotta do some of my Switzerland research.
Yeah, pretty badass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to look into that more. Let's see. We have H&N. When do you think about guard dogs in the area? Did you have to? Was there people in Argentina? Were they leveraging guard dogs during that time?
There's quite a bit of a tradition in many. It's not just in Argentina or even South America. Pretty much in Argentina, South America, Russia, Africa, in any of these places where there's a little bit more crime, there's a strong tradition of having a little bit more serious guard dogs. And I read a South African book that was very interesting. Just criminals don't like dogs. They just don't like them. I think that any dog is good in terms of barking and such as being an alarm. And there's something to be said about criminals not liking any dog, but I would like to have something a little bit more, a little bit bigger. The German Shepherd is, of course, Argentina is a fantastic dog as well. Those are good dogs to have. Right now, I have an English Bull Terrier, which is a pretty stocky guy, and he's a little bit intimidating, but he plays with my 2-year-old like nothing. Just pokes in the mouth and the nose, and the dog is super used to that. But it is a responsibility, but definitely a dog that imposes a little bit more respect is something you want to have for your home security.
Yeah, my dogs are very they're the cat size. They're miniature greyhounds, but one of them does bark when anyone is nearby. So I guess
that's awesome. If it barks, it works like an alarm, and there's something to be said about any dog. Criminals, when they hear a dog barking, they just don't like it. Of course, if your dog can actually eat someone, that's even better.
Yeah, even better. Yeah. They should start making like a breed of prepper dog. Some prepper.
The closest thing there is to a breed of prepper dog, I would say, it's the Dogo Argentino. The Dogo Argentino is like a hunting dog. It's a big white dog that eats cougars and boars, and it's used for hunting. It's a pretty serious dog. But the owner has to be very careful with it as well, because if you treat it like a little baby, it's just going to be looking like, what's going on here?
Wow!
And it's a fantastic. It's a very unique dog. It's like having a lion rather than a dog.
Wow. Yeah, maybe some preppers will start breeding some honey badgers or something where they're just patrolling outside. Those ones are pretty hardcore. Let's see. We have this is something. Any thoughts on drone use for home defense? I was actually looking yesterday on investing in a drone just for like these kind of patrolling the neighborhood or like seeing what's going on. What do you think of that?
It's not my thing, but it's pretty awesome. I had one of these little toy drones, nothing serious, but I can definitely see the advantage of you set it up there, you do a little, reconning of the area, you check your neighborhood, see if there's anything strange going on without yourself putting yourself at risk. And even if it starts getting in more tactical situations, there is something to be said about if there's a room or even a street corner where you don't want to go yourself, or if you start doing this neighborhood patrol thing, one of the best, safest ways to do it is just and check things out. Drones have, of course, that military application, not the larger drones with missiles, but also the small ones who has to do a little bit of recon.
Yeah, I love the idea. And I know that you could program them to do certain routes and stuff. You could probably program it to do a route of your neighborhood and come back. And then we'll maybe even store it in a Faraday cage if you want to go hardcore prepper on it. But I love the idea. I think it's really cool. And
they're a little bit expensive, some of the nicer ones.
I'm trying to figure out what would be a
pricey.
good. Yeah, I think if it was less than $500 one might be for prepper for emergency purposes might work out. But I kind of like that. We have, let's see, Seal. They talked about the dogs. Small one that's good for 5 casualties over here. I think people like the dog talk that we had over
well,
there.
the dog, a good small dog that I really, the Jack Russell. I had a Jack Russell. That was a fantastic dog. That is a serious little dog that.
Those are smart too, those dogs.
Very smart. It's going to be catching rats better than a cat. So it's fantastic for pest control. And it's pretty a spunky little guy, pretty determined.
Yeah. Let's see. There's people are even saying that we should just program maybe our drones with Alexa. Alexa, deploy Claymore Roomba. that's funny. Then we have, let's see, the Titan Preparedness channel has a defensive duck. Not as scary, but that's maybe that works too. I think so. Let's see, going through the comments some more. So I was curious. I want to do another shout out for the books because I want people to buy the book. So all right, guys, we're about 45 minutes into this. I think we're probably going to have to go a little longer because it feels too short already. But so make sure that you buy Fernando's books. Again, this one is an absolute classic. It's a must-have, mandatory for preppers to have this book. This is one of the ones that inspired me. So the Modern Survival Manual, and then the Bugging Out and Relocating. That's when you're talking. That's the one I have right now. That one's available on Kindle, I believe. It shows right there. And then Street Survival Skills. I have the links in the description box. Make sure you click them. And again, this is this Fernando writes these ones. It's really, really cool. Can you talk a little bit about the Bugging Out and Relocating? Because this is a common topic that all preppers really talk about, having bug out bags and stuff, but no one's really done it, but you've done it. So what are some of the signs that that we should be aware of? So.
My first book is the one that, as you said, is the one that had it's the one that most people remember, and the one that had the more reaction. My second book, this one, Bugging Out and Relocating, was basically written out of necessity. I wrote that when I was planning for my own bugging out, leaving Buenos Aires when things started getting a little bit more complicated. I finished it in Northern Ireland. I published it when I was in Northern Ireland already, but it's a topic that a lot of people talk about, but they don't want to do it. And I understand completely why. It's maybe of the 3 books, it's the one that has the least response, in terms of people feeling that it's something they like, because it's something very hard to leave behind your stuff, let alone your country. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But in that book, I describe some of the strategies so as to, have another country to go to. But also in terms of if you have to bug out, like we're talking about right now, let's say you wake up and you're in the Chaz and you have to make it to your a family member in another state, in another county. That is also bugging out. You're picking up a bag with a few essentials and you're leaving. So that is the kind of thing I explain in that book as well, which would be the things. I think of it in terms of having different packs, depending on how much time and the strategy and the plan you have in mind. If I have to leave my country behind, there's maybe less stuff I'm going to be taking. If I have a couple of days warning because there's a flood heading my way, maybe I can pack a truck with more stuff. Maybe if I live in a small apartment in downtown Seattle and I have to leave for a few days, I just get a bag with some of the essentials, maybe something else that just in case I don't want to lose if someone breaks into my place, steals everything. But all of these different strategies are not as simple as just picking up a backpack and a gun and heading to the woods, which is a lot of the things that people fantasize about. This is not super realistic. Right now, it wouldn't be realistic for you to just head to the hill and just live off the land because of the Chaz.
Yeah, one of the things that again, with relating everything back to Chaz in Seattle, but I've seen this stuff kind of go on in the Seattle area. I know how the people are over there, but when I read your book, it's like it's super exact and pretty scary, and I just kind of envisioned it in a different way. But when I'm actually living it, it doesn't feel like I'm in I don't know how to explain it really, but it doesn't feel like I'm in some kind of emergency situation, like maybe how it's fantasized. A lot of people kind of, I'm gonna know when SHTF. You might not even know. It might just feel like a normal day, I imagine.
That's fantastic what you're just saying, because it's so common. I mean, if we had talked about this a month ago, you would have said, this is beyond doubts, SHTF, the world is ending, America is ending, let's all get our guns and start shooting one another. But it's not. You have to be a lot more level-headed. When I left Argentina, I left with a backpack and a suitcase, and I left everything behind. That is super hard to do. Once you do it once, it's super easy to do again, because you feel this thing that we were talking about before about stuff just being stuff. When I ended up in Ireland, I ended up with just that, a couple suitcases each, and you would think, oh, that's awful, you're a refugee, or within a month, I had a very nice house, very nicely outfitted, and I had people drop by visiting me, and you're living like this? I mean, are you a millionaire? Of course not. Are you anything? No, I'm just a regular guy. But when you have the proper planning to do things, putting furnishing in a house, it's really not all that complicated, and it actually looks a lot better when it has less stuff and it's not crowded with get over the years, and it looks actually kind of bad.
It's more feng shui to look cleaner.
Sure, yes, it is. So within a couple months, I was having the kids of my neighborhood, the neighborhood kids, dropping by to play Xbox with my kids. My kids are, of course, completely bilingual. The teachers from school were, how is it that your kids speak better English than our own kids? And it's a lot about the mindset that you have, the skills that you've been acquiring over the years to roll with a lot of this. I met a guy from Syria that he had left Syria during the middle of the war. And the guy left, he left with his wife, but his wife was a doctor. So in spite of leaving a country in ruins, their education, their mindset, of course, being a doctor, you're going to be making a nice living in a number of places. But I don't know if I lost you there, Cliff.
Oh, I'm still here. I was going through some comments. It sounds like a connection's starting to go a little bit. I know maybe they're
connections start. No,
they're trying to shut it down.
The thing I was the thing I was saying is, if you have all those skills and most of all, if you have the attitude, you're going to be getting back on your feet in spite of all these heavy things happening. And as you were saying before, that struck, it doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem, oh, well, this isn't as serious or as bad as it is. But it depends on how you take it. Same thing for the guy in eastern Ukraine. He left because of the invasion, and he moved to Kiev, to the capital. And like a month later, he emailed me again and said, hey, Fernando, I'm doing okay. I have a new job. I rented a nice apartment, and we're okay. We're fine.
Yeah. I was talking. I think Prepper Agenda was in the comment section, and he's kind of really made me rethink kind of the whole bug out bag thing, because a lot of preppers, we make our bug out bags like we're going in the woods or something. But his bug out bag is like a travel suitcase, and he's going to a hotel, or he's going out of the area, or going to grandma's house or some. So maybe the whole idea of like bugging out has to be reevaluated. And it sounds like from what you said, you took a backpack and a suitcase. So maybe that's more of what the bug out bag should be, and not as much an inch bag.
If I had, the famous "I'm never coming home" bag, the inch bag. When I remember the day very vividly, the day I got into a cab, left, closed the door, never gonna be coming back. And you know what? I remember thinking, I have my passport, I have my plane ticket, my family's ticket, my kids and such, and I have the cash. I had a bit of cash, and that's all I really need. I'm fine as long as I have this. I don't need anything else, and that's super crazy because we see all these huge lists about all the stuff you need for the end of the world. The truth is that as long as you have the mindset, the attitude, and the skills as to make it, something as simple like what I'm doing now. I'm speaking in a language that is foreign to me. I speak Spanish, but being fluent in two languages means that you have a tool that's quite valuable in many parts of the world. It's something else that gives you a little bit of an edge. And if to that you add, a college education, certain skills that you have, the will to overcome adversity that is essential, you will be fine with minimal stuff. And today maybe you think of your cell phone, wallet, but again, for me I remember that I touched my jacket, and I touched the passports, tickets, bunch of cash. One of the things I remember is I had silver, and I remember thinking, damn, I wish I had more gold instead of silver, because silver gets quite heavy.
Yeah. Makes sense. So there's I originally thought we'd go for about an hour, but I think is it cool if we go maybe about 75 minutes or so, because there's still a lot of comments. Sure. People seem to be loving it. I see some people more people from Argentina are coming in. Let's see. We have where do you think we are going here in Argentina? Do you have your thoughts on latest things going on in Argentina?
Ariel, man, it is very complicated, because the people in charge now are the same people that came after 2001. It's a whole mess. And, I never thought it would go back to those old days, and unfortunately it did. And there's a couple of things going on in Argentina. First of all, still, we don't know for sure how it's going to be ending up. I mean, right next door, you have Brazil. Brazil has pretty awful numbers in terms of infected and deceased people because of coronavirus. Argentina doesn't seem to be as bad. At the same time, I don't really trust the government, because that is the government basically that I left the country because of. So, and they did it before. The swine flu, the bird flu, which in 2009 was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
During the bird flu thing, it was hit pretty bad, and we had lockdowns in schools in Argentina because of bird flu, because a lot of people ended up dying because of that. That was my first experience with a serious and using those respirators. That was the first time I had to do something like that. We had to homeschool our kids because schools were closed. But also right now in Argentina, the economic aspect is pretty serious. It has been going downhill for some time, and now it is pretty bad. One of the other things that they did is they are nationalizing a very big agricultural company. One of the larger food producers in the country is being nationalized. And the nationalized thing brings us to Venezuela. The idea of nationalize this, nationalize that. There's a very famous scene where Hugo Chavez is driving, or he's walking along the street, and he's asking questions, and he's asking, who does that belong to? Okay, nationalize that, nationalize that. And it's amazing that now that is happening in Argentina. It's complicated. I don't know how it's going to be working out.
Wow. Well, cool. That's a lot of detail there for on that particular comment. So yeah, for me, I think the government doesn't do good on a lot of things. As far as I'd rather have some organic Tillamook cheese from Oregon than I would government cheese. There's some things they do pretty well. They do pretty good military, I guess, wise. But most of the other things, the private sector, I think, is better. So no,
sometimes I get accused of being like very far left or being very far. I try to be like a middle ground, reasonable person with all of these things. With all of these things, sure, there's things I don't want a private company managing, because I think that it's not in my best interest. There's certain things I definitely wouldn't want, or even whenever possible, I'd like to have the option. If I can have the option of having great public schools and having great private schools, if I can have both, give me both. I'll choose whatever it is that I like best. Yes. But at the same time, the nationalized thing, the take away from something that's being held, that's something that's private property, taking away private property from someone, that's a big no-no in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go rapid fire questions. We might not even have to answer all. Let's see. Staying home. Yeah, I agree. Staying home is probably a lot of us are cooped up in our homes for the past 3 months now or so now. Stuff tends. This is stuff tends to own us. I think that's a great comment, Matt. So, and I think that's Fernando. You kind of hit on that a lot too. That once you kind of freed yourself, then it stopped owning you.
Yes.
Fernando, have you noticed an uptick in book sales since all the craziness has started?
Man, it went through the roof when coronavirus first started.
Yeah.
It's been since then. Yeah, people were very interested. My last book, I did a Spanish version. It's doing great. It is the best-selling survival book in Spanish, which I'm pretty proud of. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, there's definitely an interest. I don't know how long it will hold because people tend to lose interest eventually when things kind of calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, in the United States, it's coronavirus plus all the social unrest going on right now. I don't know. It's probably until elections, depending on how those go, people will still be very much interested in all of these things.
Yeah, I think at least for my channel, I think for a lot of other prepper channels, like early coronavirus, like February, March is April, there's a big uptick in those type of videos and people buying masks and stuff. So that was I guess that's kind of what I saw some of the uptick, at least on our end. So let's see, bugging in, start taking this seriously after reading Fernando's post. Yeah. Again, let me do another shout out while we're talking about Fernando's post. All right, guys. So the links are all in the description. We've been listening to Fernando Aguirre, also known as the Modern Survivalist, a big fan of his. Make sure you check out all of his books. Just buy them. Tell your significant other that Tup said it's okay. So just go ahead and buy all of them. Buy the Modern Survivalist manual, buy Bugging Out and Relocating, and buy Street Survival Skills. And then make sure that you follow Fernando on themodernsurvivalist.com and then also on his YouTube channel. A lot of good content over here as well. And again, it's just like the bio says, it's no nonsense. And Fernando's like one of the special people in our community is because he has experience, like real applied experience in this, where he's had to bug out and where he's had to apply these things, and it's not just like theoretical and concepts and research. Like a lot of stuff I just I'm reading Fernando's books to get ideas on what I need to do. So
no, I love your work, man. It's fantastic. You have a very methodic way of explaining things. It's actually pretty awesome, the job you do, the work you do. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I wish I spoke multiple languages like you. I speak a little bit of Java. I speak computer programming languages like Java and Python and C++ and stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's a fantastic tool, man. It's, I don't want to bore people to death with this sort of thing, but it's something like what you're saying. You know programming. You can program anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
that's something you're likely to find a job anywhere. And what someone said in the comments about not letting stuff imprison your, it is, yeah, sure, it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, when things really get bad, things are more important than just gear and such.
Yeah. Let's see another one from Matt over here. Question: right now, people are rushing to buy guns. Have the prices spiked? Availability issues? I've definitely heard of availability issues, and I've heard of haven't heard of too many spikings, but I know that right now both political sides, at least in the U.S., they're pro-gun.
Yeah.
It seems like right now. So.
Yeah, in terms of all that stuff, try to be calm. Don't overreact. These are the kind of things you have to take with time. In terms of firearms, there's a lot of things that reasonable people do, doctors, lawyers. There's sports. I practice IPSC. It's all over Europe. International pistol shooting competition is it's super accepted. And you can travel all over the world competing, meeting fantastic people. It's not politicized, at least from where I've seen it. It's mostly people that just enjoy the shooting sport, and you can do it from super liberal UK to super conservative Switzerland, and you all compete and share in the same sport.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. Man, there's all sorts of good questions. I want to get to all of them if I can. Let's see. People are talking about political stuff, it seems like, over here. To Patreon, people are plugging some stuff. Okay, here's another one. Prepper Agenda always has good questions. Let's see. When your children are adults and it's just you and your wife, would you be interested in living a caravan or a tiny home? I think the tiny homes is super fascinating.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Prepper Agenda, why are your questions always so good?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if living a tiny home. I see maybe having like a couple places, maybe some more isolated, the traditional homestead, maybe a little bit of farming, well, maybe not farming, but a nice patch of orchard and something like that, and having maybe a small condo or flat somewhere else, and having those two options, having that mobility. That's actually pretty common here in Europe. People have, live half year in one place and then move following the nicer weather. So yeah, that's probably what I don't see myself moving around in a caravan all day long, man. That just seems fun just for a while.
Yeah. I always kind of thought that maybe a cool concept would be like a bug out home where you have a tiny home that you could just move around to your different, if you have different small plots at different locations, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing I would like, having like a small house out in the, I don't like being surrounded by a lot of people. So a house that's not too huge so as to manage, but you have a little bit of land around you, a little bit of air, and maybe a flat, an apartment somewhere else, and moving around, sure, and having a caravan parked somewhere in case I have to improvise some other third option. A boat would be something very cool.
Yes.
I was talking with Matt Bracken. Yeah, the bug out boat is an awesome idea. Yeah, I still have to convince, and a boat is something that allows you to move all over the world. That is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I have a closet prepper friend that no one would think that this guy's a prepper, but he's totally like trying to convince his wife to buy some property on water because he wants to have a bug out location and a bug out boat at this one island in the Puget Sound. Yeah. And I thought it was a great idea. And he also has had all these caches planned as far as like the PVC pipe caches at different locations along his route. I think it's a pretty cool concept.
Awesome.
Not able to focus on that. Let's see. Some people are talking about programming in the comments that better learn some C++. Did I say C+? I meant C++. Sorry. Let's see. Don't overreact. Yeah, a lot of overreact. Good stuff here. Great things. Seems like people are overall are liking the topic that we're going on over here. So this is really cool. Man, where do we go from here? We're just getting wrapped up.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that's how I kind of, when I'm trying to plan out projects, I try to do it in the same way that you would plan out a software engineering project where you're starting from a design phase and making your schematics and you're getting everything planned in its own place and modules and testing and stuff and then applying it. It's a lot of just software engineering principles that I try to apply towards prepping. I guess that's my strategy. But I don't have applied like real life experience like the stuff that you have, because I haven't had to bug out or much of anything like that. So cool. There's so many good questions. Thank you, everyone, man. We have to have FerFAL. I think what we're just gonna have to do is just have you on again to talk some more, because we're not going to be able to get to all these. Let's see, someone's talking here Finland like this. Finland, this show is about Q&A for FerFAL about preparedness and disaster. Yes, it is. So if you have questions, we only have a few minutes left because I know FerFAL, it's probably in the evening for you. You're going to have dinner eventually, and it's for me, it's the morning, and I'm going to have to eat some breakfast eventually. Let's see, there was a lot of cool talks about like the drones and stuff too. Someone had in the comments, they said that there's a drone that's specifically designed for these kind of like after storms and stuff like that. If you could provide that in the comment section, that'd be really cool. I'd like to look into that, maybe do a video. So, okay, here we go. Here's a good one. FerFAL. What is the safest way to move wealth? Credit cards, cash, gold, and guns. And you also kind of mentioned having some offshore accounts too.
Yes, the thing is this: a lot of people think that's kind of like James Bond stuff. Having an offshore bank account, or even that's. It's perfectly legal, of course, unless you are some sort of criminal that's hiding money. But if you do things right, if you present all the paperwork, it's perfectly legal. And the thing is, if you have a bank account in some other country other than your own, if something goes down in your country and you already have that account open, even if it's just an account with a few bucks, not anything special, but if you have that account already open, if something bad happens, you can move money around. And that is very valuable if you start seeing the economy kind of shaky. For example, in Greece, where some people had problems with that, was a few years ago, the banks banks closed, and there was a little bit of a problem with that. Folks started going to some other country. Of course, it's easier in Europe because all the European Union countries are interconnected. But if you already have an account in some other country, sending that money, it's easier. Now, opening a bank account takes a lot of time. You will not be doing that in the middle of a big mess. But that's what allows you to move assets from one place to another and avoid some of these accounts frozen and some of the bank runs and such. Also keep in mind, these things internationally, they are usually done on Fridays because that's the way the going to the bank, protesting, making a big mess. So whenever a bank is going to be doing something horrible in Argentina, in Greece, I think it was in Iceland as well, usually it's Fridays that they go for some of the more drastic stuff. Bitcoin is also very interesting. I like Bitcoin quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm super fascinated with like in the whole blockchain type, the Bitcoin style currency. I think it'd be a great video topic. Do you have any videos on this topic on your channel with regard to offshore money and cashes and stuff like that?
I did a video talking about gold and Bitcoin. I think I did a specific video on Bitcoin because a lot of people don't quite understand how it works. If someone hacks it and such, they don't quite understand how it works or the privacy aspect of it. I basically try to summarize that it is definitely a tool that has a lot of potential. It is, if you're safe, it is the safest thing. The blockchain is a revolution on its own.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So there's a lot to be said. I know that in Africa, many places it has been quite popular. In Venezuela, it's super popular as well, given that their own currency is a disaster. In Venezuela, Bitcoin is pretty big too.
I love the idea. I mean, I don't know if you remember what movie, Back to the Future 2. I don't know if you've watched Back to the Future, but Doc Brown had a suitcase with all these different type of currencies that he had. And for his, it was different years, but I could see something like a real hardcore prepper that has like different caches and different currencies ready to go in a Doc Brown style suitcase. And maybe even some Bitcoin, some offshore accounts.
I have a little bit of everything, but I like Bitcoin as well. I have it in my ledger and keep some in the accounts accessible on the phone and try to diversify a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. So we've been going for a little bit. We have a guest, the Apex Prepper has been monitoring the comment section. I thought we could bring him in live over here and we'll do a few more questions with Fernando. And let's see, Apex Prepper, let's see. There we go. We got you live. Apex Prepper, meet Fernando, the Modern Survivalist. Fernando, meet Apex Prepper.
How you doing?
I don't know if he can see you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I see him loading already there.
Oh,
he's been having some connectivity problems.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, so I thought we could do a few more questions. Bernie, aka the Apex Prepper, do you have any? You've been asking some of the questions in the chat room. Any questions you'd like to ask Fernando himself?
One, we got to find a way to get Fernando on our prepper roundtable.
Yeah, what would be like a cool round? What would be a cool topic? Yeah, a cool topic that feature Fernando with like maybe like 5 other like preppers would be really cool. Like I don't know, I like that.
Absolutely, man. I love the idea.
Yeah. I think it's just cool to be able to collaborate with people. I mean, we're talking to Fernando. He's over in Europe. Bernie's down in Portland. I'm up in the Seattle area. There's people all over the place. It's kind of cool that we're able to leverage this kind of streaming software to collaborate and talk about ideas and have people ask questions. I think it's really sweet.
Absolutely, yeah. So no, this has been a great show. I love the bulletproof door.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's like that really has me thinking. Obviously the drone thing. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later, Cliff. But yeah, no, this has been a very informative show, and I think more than anything, it helps bring light to how do we react to like our current situation. Not underreacting, but not overreacting. Coming from somebody with experience, I've never experienced this type of rioting, to this level yet. But I've seen it in other places around the world. So,
no,
yeah, this is really
Fernando,
good.
like the rioting that happened in Argentina, I think that was like in December of 2001. Was it something as ongoing as what we're seeing right now as back then?
Man, it was nationwide in most parts, and there was a lot of looting as well. That was very similar. And for some time, the capital in Buenos Aires, they would loot every night. I think that's more visible, right? I don't know if it's because of the coverage that you guys have. You have better,
Yeah, they didn't have Twitter
camera
back
crews
then.
covering everything.
Yeah.
No, I it was like 30 something, 50 people getting killed, depending on who you ask. So the casualties were more in the case of Buenos Aires, of Argentina, and it was also widespread because being an economic problem, people just losing everything they had. Something a little bit similar to what's happening with people not being to work because of the lockdown, and I think a lot of this is going to be down the road, maybe a month or two from now, when people that are not making any money start just running out of it.
Yeah.
You start using any savings that you have. You start running out of preps. You start running out of food. One of the things that amazed me talking with Daniel, the prepper from Venezuela, when he saw things going downhill, he bought a year and a half worth of food.
Wow.
And he thought that was going to be enough.
Yeah.
Now, of course, a year and a half was not enough because this has been going on for 20 years over there. So we go back into this, is strategizing and learning how to adapt. And, if you have to leave Venezuela so as to have a normal life, you leave Venezuela. Of course, we all hope that the United States never ends up like Venezuela, but it's just an example of how things, when they go really downhill, really bad, some toughness need to be made.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think that's it seems like a proper fitting for what we've been talking about now. I think the only thing that we could probably wrap up this particular live stream, again, we've been listening. I hope you guys have enjoyed this live stream. This is a real treat for me to be able to talk to Fernando Aguirre. I've been a big fan of his books for years now. FerFAL. Where's the FerFAL nickname that come from? I'm trying to get that part of it.
Yeah, well, my name is Fernando, so Fer is Fer.
Yeah.
In my Spanish, I have a Spanish channel as well. It's called Supervivencia Moderna. So if you want to practice Spanish, the channel is doing very well. So Fer would be my name, and FAL is the FAL. Right.
Okay.
And FAL is my favorite battle rifle.
Oh, there we go. Cool. Now, little fun tip there for everyone that didn't know that already. So I thought maybe to wrap this up, we haven't done an EDC check, I don't think, have we, on this one? So
No.
I think it's EDC check time. All right, there we go. EDC check time on the live stream.
Okay.
Fernando, what is on your EDC? I know you have probably knives and all sorts of gear within arm's reach. What's within arm's reach for you right now?
Within arm's reach, I have firearms on that that table over there. I have a pile of flashlights in that display case that you see that has knives and flashlights. And right now, I'm just wearing my sweatpants, and I only have my zero tolerance knife.
There we go. So even with sweatpants.
630. Yeah, even with sweatpants, I have something with me. Yes,
and it looks like you have like a tuba or something in the background there. What is that?
I think it's a chair.
Is that a chair? Oh, I thought it was a tuba.
It's a chair.
I thought you were a tuba player or something. Apex Prepper, how about you? What's on your EDC?
The same as usual. We got the infamous Olight that got us connected all those years ago.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very nice.
I have that.
Serrated edge.
And I think that's pretty much it, actually.
Yeah, for knives within my distance, I have this is the new one that I got from Ben Banter's. This is a Wee knife, and I showed it to Fernando before the stream. He goes, "Oh, that's cute."
Yeah.
But I also have some. So I have this is a Gerber companion, and then I also have
that is the Chaz special.
Yeah, yeah. This is the. That's funny. Yeah, which one would you take the Chaz with you, Fernando? Do you have a preference?
Yeah. I tried to keep it low key. I'm not planning on getting into fights with anyone driving through there.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, everyone, again, this has been a real treat for me. I hope that it's been a treat for you. We've been listening to Fernando. Again, I'm going to do one final shout out. Buy his books. You should already have some of these books because it should be like your prepper's college curriculum mandatory readings. So especially the Modern Survival Manual. Again, an absolute classic. But we also have Bugging Out and Relocating. We have the Street Survival Skills. And then make sure you follow Fernando. I'll turn off the EDC check really quick. Okay, there we go. So make sure you follow his channel on YouTube. And then I also have links to his website as well. So again, Fernando, thank you so much for being on the stream. It's been really awesome and honor to be able to talk with you. And you're such a valuable person within the whole preparedness community, that someone that a resource that's invaluable resource that's gone through situations that none of us have gone through, although we're starting to go through something on the early stages now. So again, thank you for everything that you've done for the preparedness community for so many years now.
Hey man, it's been a pleasure, Cliff, talking to you. Apex Prepper, great to meet you. And
yes, nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Anytime you want to talk again, just let me know. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I think we totally have to, because there's so many comments that we didn't get to, and so I think there's a lot more that we need to. I still have more questions on my list of things to ask you, so we'll be in contact, and I'd love to be able to talk with you more. So again, thank you again for spending the time today.
Guys, take care. Take it easy. It's not the end of the world. I've always said, the world never ends. It just gets a little bit more complex and more complicated at times. You just roll with it without overreacting and deal with it. That's basically it.
Awesome. Well, there we go. Love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.